Like, we're on a team.
And
If we're going to try to score a touchdown, put out this house fire, but you keep fumbling the ball because we got to get pulled out every 5 minutes because you have a 30-minute ball that lasts 12, we got an issue. I'm not going to be happy with you. You're not going to be happy. I've done my work. You've done your work. So where is the weakest link in your team? And then how do you go about correcting that weakest link?
Hey everybody, this is Chris.
I'm Ben.
And this is Priority Traffic Podcast.
Today we're going over the importance of why you should make it a priority to get a nice workout in at work, stay fit at home, take care of yourself, recover, stay hydrated, and stay on top of your body to do the best you can at whatever job is presented to you.
Absolutely. Working out at work, that is like the big question for a lot of people. And before we get too deep into it, I want to say that I don't think it's a good excuse to not be fit. Like, I'm afraid to work out because I don't want to catch something.
Yes.
If you're fit, that's a completely different consideration than if you're not.
Yeah, I mean, when you're outside of work, you train to stay healthy, look good, and if you are passionate about this job, that's a big reason why you train as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to go and be presented with this challenge.
Right.
So you're ready. Like, it is why sprinters run 200s a million times before track season.
Right.
Because they're ready for that meet when they're sitting there on the block and they can take on their competition.
Absolutely.
It's like they put the reps in beforehand so they're ready. And that's kind of the way I look at this job and why I work out, stay healthy. Yeah, there's a lot of other benefits to it, but this job's demanding. And when you get a good fire that's rocking, that's even more so demanding.
Sure.
But we do what we do to be ready for that job.
Absolutely. And I think it really, on the big scheme of things, it's going to come down to your capacity for work, the demands of the work that comes in, and then your ability to manage. So it's going to be like a trifecta thing where capacity, demand, ability to manage is going to equal the outcome for how well whatever the demand is goes.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So if your demand is pulling hose and you're not dragging stuff in your training or you haven't ever built up a capacity to do that type of stuff, then you're really going to be having a weak link in your workout profile or your fitness profile. And you're just not going to be good at throwing heavy stuff on your shoulder, dragging it a long way, and then actually doing the job, right? So there's the demand of the fitness side of it. And then there's the actual skill set that goes mutually parallels the job physical demand.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people say, well, we got plenty of people here. We're going to pull this line, get it in place. We're going to try to advance through this house, and it should be easy.
Right.
You know, so move an 1 3/4 inches, not too bad. Not too bad until you realize that majority of people don't pull holes for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're sitting there, and not only have you gone into this like little mental wormhole of putting out this fire, but you are also stuck at a corner, and that hose is stuck on 9 different corners, and you're sitting there and pulling it to advance another 8 feet.
Right.
Which is demanding.
Absolutely.
And you stop, think, pull, get exhausted, then continue on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of you're paying a lot of taxes for this job. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and different jobs are different expectations.
Sure, and there's a lot of things that come into play with how many people are outside that doorway, like humping that hose or not.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you've only got 2 trucks on scene. You got 3 guys per truck, so you got an operator, you got a guy doing 360, and you got 2 or 3 more guys that actually help you.
Yeah.
Maybe they're busy. Maybe they're throwing ladders. Maybe they're making a rescue while you're trying to advance a hose.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be your best tool. And, like, it's great. You pick your pike pole, sledgehammer, axe, whatever you want to carry, but you are your number one tool.
Absolutely. Your body, your physical structure, everything.
Yeah, you go and check out chainsaws every day. You go and check out the K12, make sure those are running because your butt's on the line if you're driving that truck to make sure that they're working.
Yeah.
So who's holding you accountable to make sure you're working, make sure your body's working, make sure you can go and pull a ceiling without feeling tired. Like, yeah, pulling ceiling sucks. Nobody likes it. Get some plaster and lath in there, you know. Like, it's a job and it's taxing. But what is going to keep you in line to do this job very well?
Sure.
Because no one's really holding you accountable.
Yeah, unless your department has like a physical standard that they actually implement and test on. And even so, let's say it's a biannually or like twice a year
Mhm.
type thing, you're just going to train to that test 3 or 4 weeks out. Hope you do good.
Yeah, jump over a wall, drag a dummy, stuff like that.
Yeah. So that's a really good question. What is the standard for fitness for you? Like, if there's nobody hounding you to say you got to run a mile in this fast, you got to do this many push-ups and squats, what are you going to implement your own standard? Like, what is your standard for you?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I think I'm fairly well in tune with my body.
Sure.
I work out a lot. I enjoy working out, which makes it a whole heck of a lot easier,
Absolutely.
and which entailed makes the job easier.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I want to know that I'm not going to get smoked. I have a pretty good endurance. You know,
Right.
I want to have a good motor behind me. I want to be strong enough to pull somebody out if need be, and because moving dead weight is a lot harder than picking up a like deadlift bar. You know, like
Totally.
deadlift 400 pounds, but you go and pull somebody out that's 200 pounds, you're gonna get smoked.
Oh, yeah.
And so kind of keeping a well-balanced life of you want to be strong, you want to have a good motor, and you want to be mentally tough to where when you sit there and you go, I'm smoked, you know you still have a little bit left in the tank to keep on going.
Right.
Because nobody
Right.
wants to be the first one dead out of a fire.
Mm-mm.
Or I guess not dead, but like
Right.
tired. You know?
Right. You want to, if you're the guy, you're coming out 5 minutes before your crew, your pass alarm's going off, your vibra alarm's out, you suck
Mhm.
that bottle dry, and all you've done is advance the hose line in.
Yeah,
Like,
you're gonna get a lot of looks.
You should.
Yeah.
And I mean, at least for me and you, I'm not much to judge people, but this job is such that if your fitness isn't on par, like, you're putting people at risk willingly.
Yeah, and so I guess a good viewpoint of that is it's the closest thing you get to like a team sport in the adult world. Like we're on a team.
Absolutely. We're a crew, for
Yeah,
sure.
and if we're going to try to score a touchdown, put out this house fire, but you keep fumbling the ball because we got to get pulled out every 5 minutes,
Right.
because you have a 30-minute ball that lasts 12,
Mm-hmm.
we got an issue. I'm
Right.
not going to be happy with you. You're not going to be happy.
No.
I've done my work, you've done your work. So where is the weakest link in your team?
Right.
And then how do you go about correcting that weakest link?
That's a really good question. So, with let's just say we've identified me as the weakest link.
Mhm.
What do I do next?
Bold.
Do I have to accept that I am out of shape, and then do I need to be assessed? Like, what comes next?
I think everybody can kind of take a personal accountability, whether they are a better version of themselves or if they're putting in the adequate amount of work for this job.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people will fall short in that, unfortunately. And I think it's just that personal accountability. You look at yourself and you go, hey, man, do I like what I see in the mirror? Odds are, if you like what you see in the mirror, you're probably doing pretty good. You're probably a fit guy, you know. If you haven't put on any weight, like muscle-wise in the
Mhm.
past year, maybe it's something to work on.
Sure.
You know, like, always have a goal. Like, if you never have a goal and you go to the gym and walk on the treadmill, like, that's awesome. You're doing something.
Mhm.
You're doing more than probably 50% of the fire service.
Potentially.
But if you want to go and push yourself to be the best version of yourself,
Mhm.
have these different goals. I want to go and hit 225 in the straight bench. I want to go hit 225 in the incline. I want to go hit 135 for 12 without getting smoked.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I want to be able to do 10 pull-ups. Have a goal, meet that goal, make a new goal.
Sure.
And then you're always growing. You have always something to shoot for. You know you're moving forward versus the guy that does the same routine every single time, doesn't
Right.
really change it up, or doesn't go at all.
Right. Right. You're a little stagnant.
Yeah.
So, from what I'm picking up, let's say we want to pick a handful of metrics like movements: back squat, deadlift, front squat, overhead press, pull-ups, bench press, those type of things.
Yeah.
And maybe like,
Compound movements.
yeah, compound movements. And then we can look at like the row machine, going for a run. And if you pick a handful of those to say, I want to get better in all of those, you should probably just see where you're at in all of those. You know,
Yeah.
get with the guys who are training. Say, hey, can you teach me? Show me the ins and outs of bench pressing or overhead pressing or deadlifting,
Yeah.
so you don't get hurt. And just assess yourself and be honest and say, okay, I can only deadlift 135 pounds 5 times before I am poo-pooed.
Yeah.
It's time to get serious about doing some work.
Yeah. And even if you are too insecure about asking for help and you want somebody to help you, like, teach how to lift. Because
Yeah.
if you're not used to the gym and you walk in there and you
Mhm.
feel intimidated, sometimes that's how it is, you know? And like
Yeah.
your ego kind of gets checked at the door and you realize I'm not going to be moving the same amount of weight as all these other people. That's not a problem at all.
Right.
You can't compare yourself to what somebody that's been doing it for 20 years to you who's been doing it for 2.
Sure.
You know, like I see a lot of old guys pushing a lot of weight.
Absolutely.
Sweet. Good for them. Maybe they bench more than me. I'm 26 years old. Sweet. Good for them.
Right.
You know, but if you're going in there and you can't bench 135, you want to, and you want to look up tips and tricks, do just that. There's more information on this internet that is right in your pocket at all hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I know if you're a firefighter, you're sitting there with a couple hours of free time.
Yeah.
Benefit from it.
Right.
Go and
Google
look up these different workouts. And then you're talking about good standards to have, and you're talking about these compound lifts.
Mm-hmm.
That's an excellent idea. Go and run up these compound lifts, figure out what your numbers are, keep track of them so you have this goal.
Journal.
Yeah. And then you brought up the cardio machines,
Mm-hmm.
the ski erg, the rower,
Yeah.
the assault bike, also fantastic tools to build a motor. And if you want to go and really track that, have you ever heard of the VO2 max?
Oh, yeah, for
the
sure.
testing?
Yep.
So you go and run that test, see what your heart rate is before it levels out at 170 or whatever it caps at.
Mm-hmm.
And do it one time. Write that down. Find a regimen about one of these cardio machines, either the Echo bike, the assault runner, the rower, ski erg.
Yeah, arc trainer,
Yeah.
treadmill, whatever it is.
Exactly. And
whatever you have, right?
Yep. Yeah. What's accessible to you? What do you have at your station? What do you have at your gym? And make a regimen, build something, follow it for a month, go back to that VO2 max and see if you got a little bit better.
Right.
Maybe you made it to level 12.
Sure.
Sweet.
Yeah, and at that point, it's just you competing against you, and now your discipline's going to come into question. If, let's say, you score a 45 on the VO2 max test for whatever piece of machine that you're on, wherever it is you take this test, and it went down or didn't change, now you have to kind of look back over the last, let's say, 6 weeks and reassess how hard you actually worked and what you did if it actually made an impact.
Yeah.
So you will see noticeable change when you take a VO2 max test like that.
Yeah. No, I think when it comes to building your motor, building different lifts, trying to improve yourself when it comes to fitness levels, tracking is a huge underrated strategy.
Absolutely.
I
And
think
it's simple.
So simple. And like grab a journal. Everybody has a phone. Tracking your phone. There's a million different apps, right?
Journal.
Yeah. Grab a journal, have a phone, track your stuff, understand what your goal is. Once you have a goal and you can chase it, it's gonna make it a little bit more accessible and make it more real. And you start seeing steps forward, which is gonna give you just forward progress.
Sure.
Versus the guy that wants to sit there and say, well, I'm just going to do 135 because it's comfortable and it's not hard. All right. And he's going to rep 135 and he's never going to hit 185. Maybe he'll hit it for 1, but he's never going to be the guy to be like, man, I remember last year when I was hitting 185 for 1. Now this year I'm hitting it for 6, because he's not pushing himself. And it's going to be the same person that'll probably just walk on a treadmill and never want to do sprints, never want to do these intervals.
Sure.
Versus the guy that's sitting there on the Echo bike, run the 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, and watch that 10-second timer in the 8th round feel like 2 seconds, and then you're just back in that dark place, man, and your legs are burning. Yeah, and you're just digging in. But when you step off, you did something that most guys aren't going to do.
Sure.
And if you want to be the person that isn't like most guys, you got to do that stuff.
Right.
And that's kind of where, like, the ball drops. Do you want to be normal, or do you want to be the guy that excels at his job?
Right.
Because he went and did the extra step. He pushed further. He went to that darker place, and he put the time in.
Right.
And the effort. I mean, it's not easy.
It is not easy at all. And setting the goals, I mean, you mentioned it. Setting goals is what's going to give you that direction. So let's just say you want to improve your aerobic capacity, right? So we're going to, unscientifically, we're going to go for a run, time ourselves, either 10 minutes, see how far we get, or run a mile and see how long it takes us, for instance. And then now that's your baseline. And talk to somebody who runs a lot, or Google how to run a mile faster, or like a running training program.
Yeah.
Be sequential. Yeah. Linear progression. It's just going to get a little harder every week. And at the end of that, you'll test and you'll see where you're at. And typically you're going to make progress. And just making the progress is awesome. But what you learn in the journey is, like, that's where a lot of the meat of the training comes from. Like, you're starting to train your discipline. Your mindset comes into question. You're going to be talking about self-talk. And you might even find out if your goals are actually good goals or not. right?
Yeah.
If you've never run a mile and your goal is to run a marathon in 6 weeks, that's probably not ideal
Right.
for most people.
Yeah. Unless you want to go to a dark place. Speaking of that, man, so I got Cam Haynes' new book, Endure.
Endure, yeah, that's going to be,
Woo.
I got to get that.
Before I read just a forward of this book,
Mm-hmm.
I consider myself somebody like, I work very hard.
Sure.
I push myself in the gym. My physique is something that I take pride in.
I don't know.
Yeah, right. But after reading this forward, I wanted to hop out of bed and go run as far as I possibly could.
Yeah.
Because I realized that I'm a weak man. Like, my mindset isn't to par of some of these insane people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the progress you can make from where you are to where some people are, bro.
Yeah.
The first 3 pages of this book were insane.
What's the name of it again?
Endure.
Endure by Cameron Haynes. We will post that in the show notes for anybody interested in checking it out.
Yeah. Read the first 3 pages. Tell me you're not hooked. It's insane. I was 12 hours deep into this shift at work, and I was like, I need to go do something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm being weak right now.
Nice.
It's insane.
So Cameron Haynes, he's a professional hunter and a super fit mountain athlete, basically, right?
Yeah. So he is looked at as the world's best elk hunter.
Right. I've seen that.
So, yeah, the dude's the man's man. He'll
Yeah.
go and he'll kill an elk. He'll quarter it out. He'll go walk into the mountains 12, 30 miles, things. Step on a piece of land probably nobody stepped in 200 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. Go and quarter this thing out. And he runs a marathon a day.
What?
And he has a normal 9-to-5 job. Well, I think he just retired.
Yeah.
But for the last 20 years, had a 9-to-5 job. Still managed to run a marathon a day. Runs a Moab 240.
Jeez.
Does all these ultra marathons. All because he wants to be a better bow hunter. And he wants to go and make it to these spots that nobody else will go.
He's quite impressive, I would say.
That's a man with a mission.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Impressive isn't even the word.
So speaking about impressive and mission, I think somebody that has a mission like that, like that's a overarching purpose or reason to do things. And he's likely, and I haven't read the book and I've only seen his stuff on Instagram and stuff, but he's likely taken his mission and, reverse engineered it to show him exactly what he needs to do. And he wants that mission so bad. It's so strong in his heart and in his mind that nothing stands between him and his achieving that. So his journey to get to that spot on the earth and pull the bow back and release that arrow to hit that
perfect shot.
Right. That's like culmination of so much focus and determination and grit.
Yeah.
That if you have a mission, that really defines what your life is about.
Oh, yeah. And am I even close to where he is? Absolutely not. Like I said, when I read the first 3 pages, I felt like I had the weakest mindset on earth.
Sure.
But being a fellow bow hunter,
Mm-hmm.
you shoot thousands of arrows all summer long.
Right.
For the one moment to get a shot at a deer, and you want it to be perfect.
Right.
This dude does that, runs marathons, has a family, has a 9-to-5 job,
Yeah.
runs Moab 240, which is 240 miles in I don't know how many days.
I
but
have no idea.
240 miles. Did you drive that far with your car today or 2 days?
Probably not today.
No, not the last 3 days for me.
Probably not.
Yeah. And he's running it.
Yeah.
So he can go and make this perfect shot
Yeah.
and do this thing that he loves.
Right.
That's it's a man with a mission. That comes back to mindset, discipline. Like, he's quite the character.
Yeah, I've seen some of his workout videos, and he's been on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I've seen those guys like have conversations, and he is a super down to earth, normal fella. Like
Yeah.
he's our size. He's not bigger than life by any means, but he is a serious dude, and he puts the work in. And his mission to accomplish his bow hunting, and I'm sure there's other aspects of that that play into it, but he is straightforward, legit animal. He's a hard-working MFer.
Yeah, he's genuine. You listen to him talk,
Absolutely, yeah.
it's awesome.
He's super kind. Seems to be super kind. Like I said, I've never met him, but from the media and what he puts out and presents, I think he's awesome.
Yeah. No, I think, like I said, reading this book, I question a lot of things that were like my goals.
Right.
And I go, like, I was trying to plan a goal for this upcoming year, and my buddy at work, awesome guy,
Yeah.
Ricky Bova. He just got done, did his ultra marathon, finished 100 miles in 30 hours. He did a Ironman. He does triathlons. He's like an all-around athlete. Great guy, always motivated, always has these big goals. And I was talking to him about doing an Ironman. And just because not a huge swimmer, I can swim. I know how to swim.
That muscle won't help.
No, sinks.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to him just about the idea about it. And he's like, I think it's a great idea. He's like, you've never done it. You can shoot to do it. And the process, you will learn so much about yourself. He goes, the bike riding is awesome. You go places that you would never expect to go, especially if you're just a runner. He goes, the swimming portion of it, you're going to learn how to breathe, how to swim correctly. And then the mindset behind the entire thing of, here I am, these 8 months of training for this one goal. You're going to question, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And every day when you get up and still do something to push towards that goal, he goes, you're just going to feel so much better. And when you finally do cross that finish line, it's a feeling like nothing else.
Sure.
I was like, time to sign up for an Ironman.
I think that would be something fun to train for. And you brought up something super interesting. Like when you start training for basically anything, but when you're in the middle of a set, let's like bring it down to right here, right now. You're in the middle of a set that's really hard. I know from experience that there's a voice in your head sometimes that says, quit. You can't do it. Quit. It's too hard. You're like, every few seconds, you're battling a war against the weaker version of yourself while you're doing pull downs, while you're doing push-ups, while you're running, while you're swimming and you can't breathe. Like you're on the verge of drowning. You're like, I need to just hang on the wall for a minute. Nope. You just push off and go for another lap. And I think noticing that self-talk, and that's something we can talk a lot more about in a future episode, but paying attention to what you subconsciously or consciously are saying in your head while you're struggling is super important.
Yeah,
And I know I've suffered from the struggle, like quit. And I haven't quit. I mean, there's been times where I'm like, I'm done.
Right.
It's over.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just remember that you are going to be in a war against everything that tells you not to do what you're trying to do, because your body doesn't like to be in that stage of friction where
Discomfort.
It's working. Yeah, suffering. Nobody wants to be in suffering naturally. So we are always looking for ways to escape that.
Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head with that one, man. I mean, how many times, put this in perspective.
Sure.
Just going on a simple run. You look around and you're running down this dirt road and there's trees and farm fields and you go, I could stop running right now and walk for like a mile. Nobody would know.
Yeah, who's going to know?
Nobody's going to know.
They're not going to know.
Yeah, you look around, there's not a car in sight. You keep going. And granted, dude, I've done it. I've stopped.
Sure.
Let's take a walk. Let's keep your heart rate down, relax. We get back onto it. If you never fell into that voice, how much better would you be today?
Right. How do you quiet that voice? Like, what do you do?
I don't think you want to quiet.
I think you got to have a voice that you got to have two voices at that point. You got to have another voice that says, "Shut the f up, you stupid mf'er."
Yeah.
I got this, and I'm gonna just take one more step, and then one more step.
Yep. I'm gonna make it that tree, and then I'm gonna make it that sign.
Right.
And then I'm gonna make it that road. Yeah.
Exactly. Just a little bit at a time. Dude, that helps me when I run. I'm a horrible runner. I'm 200 pounds. I'm 5'9", not very like lean. So running is tough.
Yeah.
For me. I still do it.
Yeah. Thick boy running club.
Oh yeah. 2 C's.
2 C's, maybe 3. Depends how good your summer was.
Yeah. We've probably had a good summer.
Yeah. I'd say so.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I need another drink.
Yeah, I'd say so.
We're going to have to pour. So we are enjoying ourselves a little Woodford Reserve today on the podcast. This was purchased from my local 693 down in Ann Arbor to the charities.
God
Appreciate
bless
you,
'em.
boys. Keep doing the good work.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers to that. I think fitness is it. So I was reading our job description. We're trying to hire more people. Obviously, every fire department needs more people, right?
Everybody.
We need more people. And the job description, it lists the demands of the job, right?
Mm-hmm.
It says you got to do heavy lifting and all this stuff. But it doesn't really say, we need you to be fit. Please be fit.
Yeah.
We want you to be strong and fit. Strong back, strong legs, strong mind. You're hired.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that.
Yeah. Why?
I don't know.
It
I wish
should.
it did. It should say that we need you to be resilient. And if you're not resilient, we're going to help you.
Yeah.
And if you're not strong, well, we've got something for that too.
Yep.
Right. I wish that fitness and those requisites, the job requirements, and they don't have to be listed in our job description per se, but the fact that they are a requirement of this job and they're just not written down, I think it lets people think, or gives people the impression that anybody can do this job. And let's just put it out there that a lot of people can do this job, but it's not for everybody.
No.
Right?
No.
You can train and you can get stronger. And I have that, I believe that. I have a growth mindset. I believe if you want to be better at anything, you can be.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
And maybe you're starting farther down the line than most people. Or maybe you got advantages in life and you're already naturally strong and your VO2 max is 65.
Right.
It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
But I wish the fire service as a whole, and it's getting a lot better, would start embracing the fact that this job is physically demanding, with all the stress, all the exposures, all of the demands of the physical job, not to mention the mental stress that we experience. Like, you need to be so fit to handle all that very well that I think fitness should be like almost above pulling hose.
Oh yeah. No, I think fitness is the top tier aspect of this job. I think there's fitness, problem solving, resilience. This kind of goes in with problem solving, and then it goes back into the skills of the job, because skills can be taught, the skills can be gone over, and you can turn that into something that's just second nature.
Right.
But you can't turn fitness or problem solving to second nature.
Not normally. It takes a lot of work.
It takes a lot of work, and some people are born with it. I think problem solving is one of the things that maybe just throughout my life, that's a skill I've gained. And but there's a lot of people that don't have it.
Sure.
And they look at a situation, if it doesn't follow exactly what the book says, they kind of get tossed up.
Sure.
And so, like, what do you do now?
Right.
You look at each other, like, there's got to be like a plan D.
Right.
You know? Like, what are we going to do now?
Right. When everything's
we'll figure something out.
When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, I think it goes.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
I like that one.
And that's when you're stuck in a mindset, right? Or when you're stuck in a perspective.
Yeah.
Now you got to kind of back up and think, how else can I come up with a plan to solve this problem?
Yeah. No, I think I don't understand why it's kind of frowned upon to throw that out there. We're kind of in a weird time as well.
Yeah,
So
transitional for sure.
I will give them that. But this is a job for people that have strong backs, strong minds.
Sure.
And even probably foremost, a stronger mind and a stronger body, because you will eventually get a strong body if you have a strong mind, the right mindset.
Bro, I think that's money. You just said something that I think most people could appreciate. And if your mind is in the right place, it will take your body wherever you want it to go. I think that's solid.
I think that's not bad.
That's pretty.
I'm not going to give myself too much boast about it, but yeah, it's pretty good.
Ben, the genius over here, everybody. Thank you very much.
I'm just dropping bombs. It is what it is. But yeah, I think there is prerequisites that get overlooked. And I think a lot of people think it's a job where you can go and you sit on recliners, you make good meals, and you have a good time at work, which, don't get me wrong, man. I always say it's like working at a fraternity without drinking.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, granted, we work with boys and girls, but majority of the job is guys. And so it feels like when you're stuck at a station with like 3 or 4 other guys, you're hanging out, you're having a great time, but when it's time to do work, it's time to do work.
Dude, so there's definitely a switch that happens, right? It's like all of a sudden you're back in the station, you're cooking dinner, laughing at farts, and then the tones drop. Structure fire.
Yeah.
Balance the box. We got work to do.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of clicks.
Yeah. And the people that don't, it's like you look at them and it could be one of your really good buddies and you look at me like, get your head out of your you-know-what. It's like, it's time to go, man. Like, no more bullshit.
Right.
Let's go.
We're serious here.
Yeah.
This is legit.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Multiple calls. There's smoke in the sky. We got a job.
Yeah. No, I think you hit the nail on the head with that one, man. It's just, you got to be able to know when to flip the switch to start being serious and hammer out the job.
And hammer down.
Hammer down.
Right?
Hammer down, brother. Or keep hammering. That's what
what's
he
he
says.
say? Keep hammering. Yeah, and I think the more so, like, to reiterate the basic essence of what we're talking about here is, the more you invest on the left side of that switch being the tones drop, you got an emergency to respond to. The more you invest in yourself, the more you can give to the people that you're serving.
Yeah.
So if you've invested, fitness, resiliency, skill training, mindset training, all that type of stuff on the left side of, let's call it left of bang. That's a common phrase.
Yeah.
After the tones drop, you're just going to do your job, and you're going to be resilient. You're going to be strong. Injury prevention or, chances of you being injured are going to be pretty low. So I think fitness and the fire service go hand in hand, and there's no reason that all fire departments shouldn't have a fitness standard implemented and tested yearly. I said it. There it is.
I like it. I couldn't agree more, and I think kind of to wrap this thing up, we'll just say that teeing off what you said, fitness in the fire service, you are going to make yourself a better asset to your department. You're going to give a better service skill set to the community that you work for, and you're going to be less of a liability to the people you work with. And nobody wants a liability. And especially, you don't want to be a liability. It's not a place to find yourself. It's not a place to be. You want to be there and make sure that everybody can count on you for this job, because this job is serious.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Chris.
I'm Ben.
And this is Priority Traffic Podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe, like button, turn on your notifications. Check us out on Facebook. We appreciate everybody for joining us today. We'll see you later.
Adios.
Peace.